Sister returned to her Ab-sive ex, shattering my best friend and risking my safety, and now everyone demands I save her again. I'm 28, and my sister is 26. Both of us grew up in America, but our parents are immigrants. 9 years ago, after my sister finished high school, they left the country to retire in their homeland, leaving us behind. My sister's boyfriend at the time, I'll call him Jared, was an abusive bastard. He used to beat her, among other things, and even though she was 19 and I was young myself, I got her out of that hell. We managed to file a restraining order against him when she was 21. Honestly, I've never thought my sister was all that stable, even when we were kids. She's not the kind of person who makes a good partner, not that she deserved Jared's abuse, but there's more to the story. My parents definitely treated her like a princess, spoiled her rotten, and now she expects every relationship to revolve around her, as if she can do no wrong. When she turned 22, she set her sights on my best friend, Mark. I told her to drop it, warned both her and Mark that he could do much better. But she wouldn't leave him alone, pestering him and me both. Mark, being the loyal friend he was, thought my worries were just brotherly bias. Despite my warnings, Mark and my sister started dating. 18 months into it, she cheated on him, went straight back to Jared. The worst part was her excuse for cheating. She tore into Mark's physical insecurities, using them as a justification for her betrayal. I was beyond disappointed. I made it clear, if she went back to the guy who abused her, I would never help her again. Getting her out the first time had been hell, and she had thrown away a perfectly good man in the process. I told her she could break up with Mark in any way. I think she did it in a terrible way, but okay. But if she wanted to keep seeing Jared, the man who literally beat her, then I was done. She chose Jared. He's changed, she insisted. So I cut her off. Mark, my homie, was wrecked. He spiraled into alcoholism for a while, but therapy got him back on his feet. Even 2 years later, Mark still struggles with self-worth. I see it in the way he avoids dating, crushed by what my sister did to him. He never blamed me for any of it. In fact, he encouraged me not to break ties with my family because of him, but for me, the choice was clear. Mark's a true friend. He was there for my dad after his surgery when I couldn't be. I owe him everything. If someone had treated me the way my sister treated him, I honestly don't know if I could ever look her relative in the eye again. And seeing him now, still shattered by her cruelty, makes me seethe inside. Mark did everything right in that relationship, remembered anniversaries, gave gifts, cooked for her, paid bills, planned their future together. My sister did none of that, she just threw it all away, demolishing him in the process. When I think about how she broke him, I'm angry all over again. Fast forward to last week, Jared was abusing her again. My parents called, begging me to help my sister, to let her stay at my place because she had nowhere else to go. I told them no, hung up, and ignored their calls after that. Then today, she showed up at my workplace. She looked terrible, black eye, bruises, cuts everywhere. It almost made me physically sick to see her like that, but she started begging me, making a huge scene in front of everyone. "You're the only family I have in this country," she sobbed, pleading for a roof over her head. I dragged her outside and tried to calm her down, but I stayed firm. She would not be staying with me. That's when she totally lost it, started crying, clinging to my leg there in the parking lot where all my coworkers could see. People at work stared at me like I was some unforgivable monster. I broke down myself, anger crying in public, and told her to get the hell away from me. I even threatened to call the cops and have her trespassed, though in truth, I was bluffing. I walked away, left her sitting there. After about 15 minutes, she finally wandered off. I don't know where she went. The aftermath at work was awkward as hell. People think I'm an asshole for not helping her, except my boss, who understands the situation, since he's Mark's cousin and the one who got me my job. My family, on the other hand, are furious. My parents are threatening to cut me out of the will for not helping my bruised and battered sister. My female cousins think I'm a monster. The only male cousin I have lives in Canada, and he's flying down here to help, but he's not even in Canada right now, so the earliest he could get to her is a week from now. My parents, while still recovering from illness, are threatening to travel anyway. Then my cousin called, screaming at me and telling me I'm a puss who can't just let his sister suffer like this. None of these people know what I've been through. I have TMJ from when Jared punched me in the jaw. It's bad enough that I'll eventually need surgery if it gets worse. I can't fix it with Botox. The first time I helped my sister escape Jared, he showed up at my job and trashed my reputation. I had to threaten him with a weapon once just to get him to back off, and if the cops had gotten involved, I could have lost everything. And through all of that, after saving her, after risking my future for her, my sister still went back to that asshole and ruined my best friend along the way. She ignored everything I did for her. I was just a terrified 23-year-old kid myself, and my parents left everything on my shoulders. Now everyone expects me to be the knight in shining armor again, to risk myself for someone who's thrown it all back in my face, who's chosen a criminal over her own brother. I've reached my limit. Let my parents cut me out of the will, let my cousins curse me, I don't care. I'm done. She made this bed, and now she can sleep in it. I know it sounds brutal, but I just can't help her anymore. I can't believe anyone could look at everything I've been through and still think I'm the one in the wrong. Maybe it's harsh, but I am fucking tired of being held responsible for someone who's caused so much pain to people I care about. Update 1. That was so validating to hear. For the first time in my life, I'm finally putting myself first, and I can't begin to describe how simultaneously freeing and terrifying it feels. There's a lot of confusion about how I got my job. Just because Mark's cousin happens to be my boss doesn't mean I get a free pass. Sure, the only reason I even scored a stage 1 interview was thanks to that connection, but I still had to slog through 3 or 4 rounds of interviews like everyone else. The difference is mostly that my position normally gets filled internally. So, yeah, I got to throw my hat in the ring from outside, but only because of Mark's cousin's referral. And even then, they initially hired someone else who bailed for a better gig, so I ended up being the backup plan. I've always had to prove myself, so it blows my mind that people think I just skate by at work. And for the record, Mark's cousin and Mark aren't close, and trust me, my boss is the most by the books, no nonsense person out there. After that fiasco at my job, where, I actually have to earn a living, I made sure to be upfront with the security guards. On my boss's advice, I handed over photos and a description of my sister so that security could make sure I wasn't going to get harassed at work again. Now they can threaten trespassing charges and legal action if she tries to start something. I live in a gated apartment community, so I did the same with my leasing and security office there for good measure. And wouldn't you know it, the very next day she tried to show up at my apartment complex. She tried to use my code to scan herself in. Turns out I'd given it to my parents for emergencies and they'd leaked it to her. She ended up getting escorted off the property. I guess she thought she could just camp out by my door and wait for me. The worst part? I could hear her from inside, kicking, screaming, begging them to call her brother, crying out that I still love her for sure. God, it hurt so much to hear that, like someone took a sledgehammer to my chest. That did a real number on me. Of course, this exploded the family group chat. Suddenly, I'm the criminal, you got security to chase away your sister, and so on. The hate started rolling in, and it got ugly fast. My own mother sent me a long, venomous text about how she should have aborted me, or prayed for a miscarriage. Hilarious, right? One minute everyone's livid that I'm ignoring their calls, the next minute I apparently never deserve to exist. And somehow, throughout all of this, I'm still the villain. Mark had no clue about any of this. That same day, my sister turned up at his workplace, too. Mark's respectful but honest. He told her he couldn't help because of his own mental health, said he might talk to me. When he did, he asked if I was punishing her for what she did to him. He said I didn't have to go this far, that she needed help. I completely broke down. I actually cried, which I hate to admit, but it all finally crashed down on me. I told him it's not about punishing anyone, I'm just choosing myself for once. I'm tired of always having to be the one who cleans up after her, the one who sacrifices everything for her chaos. For the first time, I'm putting my own well-being first. Mark actually understood. And then there's my cousin, the one who was so adamant that I help, who promised to step in. As soon as he realized helping meant actually offering financial support or a place to stay, magically he suddenly got some work and disappeared off the face of the earth. The guy who criticized me just goes to the whole family. It's almost comical. As for my parents, they're both out of the picture. My dad can't visit, something to do with paperwork issues, and apparently my mom is immobilized by a partial stroke or something similar. I only found out about her condition from a second cousin, not directly from her. It stings that no one bothered to keep me updated, but I guess that's how it's always been. Now it all lands on my dad, but he's old and stuck where he is. Everyone's looking at me for the answers, but I can't be the savior this time. Honestly, I feel sick and guilty. I want Jared to pay for everything he's done. I hope justice catches up with him. But right now, I'm on the verge of a promotion at work, inching closer to my dream job, putting in extra hours just to make it happen. I can't throw away everything I've worked so hard for, not again. I know that if I put my life on the line again for my sister, she might just return to the same toxic guy, and then what? What do I have left? So I'm putting myself first. My friends, most people would never believe it, have been shocked, but they're standing by me. Only they truly get it. Only they've seen the nuclear fallout I had to deal with, the way my family has always twisted things and made me out to be the scapegoat for everything. When, because it's not an if anymore, my family finally decides to cut me out, so be it. I've learned I can live without them. They've only ever drained me, only ever made me the target for their anger and disappointment. I've come to hate those parasites and realize I don't owe them anything. There's no nice bow to this, and I'm sorry for that. I just needed to get it off my chest. Here's hoping this is my last time having to update anyone on this twisted saga. Update 2. On Sunday, all I knew, at least from what my family told me, was that my sister had gone back to Jared, patched things up, and apparently didn't need any help from me. Nothing new there, just another round in their never-ending toxic carousel. But last night, things took a turn when Jared's sister, who also happens to be my sister's so-called BFF, and I put that in quotes because no real best friend would ever stand by and let their friend stay with someone abusive, brother or not, showed up at my door out of nowhere. She was polite, almost awkwardly so, and told me, things have changed. She said my sister was the one who sent her. Turns out, while my family and I were left in the dark, Jared had been cheating on my sister, repeatedly. Honestly, as shocking as a sunrise, not out of character for him at all. My sister found out, felt disappointed, and instead of walking away, decided to pull the worst move possible. She got off birth control, lied to Jared about it, and tried to baby trap him, convinced it would fix their relationship. The only reason she was trying so desperately to escape him and didn't want the police involved before? She wanted to break the news herself, in some safe space, and then go back to him after he'd calmed down. All that drama and violence because the guy couldn't figure out why she was so desperate to leave. So she finally tells him on Sunday, but only with Jared's sister as a witness. Miraculously, Jared doesn't lose his shit. Instead, he hugs her, says, "It doesn't matter, I've always wanted a family," and promises to change for their little miracle. Seriously, I'm wondering what dimension I'm living in. My sister had sent a letter with Jared's sister explaining everything, and also asked me to be the godfather to their so-called little miracle. Jared even wrote a letter too, apologizing for all his past mistakes, asking for forgiveness as the dad of my nephew or niece, and wanting to be one family with them. I can see right through his bullshit. Deadbeat probably thinks I'll be handing over cash at some point. I kept it civil, sent Jared's sister on her way as nicely as possible and said I'd reach out to my sister when I felt ready. Then I sat down, head ringing, and called my family after unblocking them. 2 hours on the phone with my dad, and get this, his biggest concern was, that kid will be, he used a slur for an illegitimate kid, if it's born like this, and taint our bloodline. I'm coming over and getting them married, so that we don't have to dishonor our lineage. Not once did he mention the fact that she's having a kid with an abusive waste of space, that she's unemployed, and that Jared can't keep a job to save his life. When I pointed that out, my dad just replied, "It's okay, I can send money. Whatever happened, too late now, help me fix it," instead of being pessimistic. Sure, let's just pay for their fights and for the kid growing up in a war zone. I feel freaking numb. All around me, I'm surrounded by people who are content to ignore reality, just so the family name stays legitimate. Jared says, "I hope it's a daughter who looks like her mom," and my sister melts. I'm in disbelief. These people are bringing a child into this world like it's a game. I'm not religious, but to me, bringing a life into this world is sacred. It isn't something you just do to solve your relationship drama. My sister's inability to make good choices was one thing, but purposely dragging a completely innocent child into this poison? I have absolutely lost respect for her. I can't even wrap my head around it. And my family? They don't care about the kid getting abused, as long as the grandchild is legitimate, nothing else matters. I ranted to my friends about all of this, Mark and the rest of the crew. I called off work just to sit in my apartment and process what the hell is even happening. It's one thing to get pulled into my sister's messes over and over, but this is on another level. The ripple effects of her wild choices aren't just going to disrupt her life, they'll affect an actual kid who never asked for any of this. I'm completely clueless about what I'm supposed to do. When I told my parents their grandchild might be safer elsewhere, they said, "Well, she's not going to abort or anything. Are you willing to take care of your nephew/niece?" No, I don't want to raise her. Kid, I have my own life to live. But I also don't see why that should stop me from calling this out for what it is, absolute insanity. My parents can't raise the kid either, they're too old and set in their ways. I just needed to get this chaos off my chest. I know I've cussed a lot, but I'm dealing with the realization that I'm about to have a nephew or niece born into a family that only values legitimacy, a mom obsessed with her abuser, a deadbeat abusive dad, and an uncle who doesn't know if he can, or even should, help, especially if I move away for work. And to top it all off, I never wanted kids in the first place. Update 3. Well, fuck. I thought the baby trapping drama was as low as things could get, but I was dead wrong. This whole situation just went completely off the rails, and I'm sitting here at 2 a.m. trying to process what the hell just happened. So remember how I said Jared was being all sweet and supportive about the pregnancy? Yeah, that lasted exactly 5 days. My sister called me yesterday morning, hysterical, saying Jared had figured it out and was losing his mind. Apparently, the genius did some quick math and realized the timeline didn't add up with when they'd been having sex regularly. She'd been so focused on trapping him that she forgot he'd actually been pulling out most of the time because he wasn't ready for kids yet. When he confronted her about it, she doubled down on the lie, insisting it was his. But then, and this is where it gets absolutely insane, Jared's sister, the same one who came to my door, apparently grew a conscience and told him the truth about my sister going off birth control. Not only that, but she also dropped another bomb. She'd seen my sister with another guy at a bar 3 weeks ago, all over each other. I should probably mention that Mark had actually warned me about this. A couple weeks back, he'd seen my sister at some dive bar downtown, hanging all over some random dude, but didn't want to tell me because he thought it would just add to my stress. Turns out his gut was right. So now Jared's convinced the baby isn't his, my sister's in full panic mode, and guess who she calls for help? Me. Again. She was sobbing, saying Jared had thrown her out and was threatening to make her pay for trying to trap him with another man's kid. The irony is unreal. Suddenly she's terrified of the guy she was so desperate to get back to. But here's the kicker, She then admits to me that she's not even sure whose baby it is. There were apparently 2 other guys during their rough patch a month ago, and she'd been raw dogging it with all of them because she was feeling reckless and wanted to feel desired. I literally had to put the phone down and walk away for a minute. My dad called me right after, screaming about how this was now a family crisis and that I needed to step up because the family honor was at stake. When I told him what my sister had admitted, there was dead silence for about 30 seconds. Then he just said, "Get a paternity test, fix this mess, bring her home." Like it's that fucking simple. The worst part? My sister showed up at Mark's place again yesterday night, begging him to pretend to be the father so she could have a stable situation for the baby. Mark called me immediately, completely stunned that she'd even ask him that. The audacity of this woman knows no bounds. She cheated on him, destroyed his self-worth, and now wants him to play daddy to a kid that might not even belong to the guy who beat the shit out of her. Mark actually laughed, not in a mean way, but in that disbelieving way you laugh when something is so absurd you can't process it. He told her no, obviously, and said she needed professional help, not another man to manipulate. I'm supposed to get promoted next week, and instead I'm dealing with this soap opera bullshit. My sister is apparently staying in some fleabag motel right now, burning through the last of her money. Part of me feels sick thinking about her alone and pregnant in that situation, but the other part of me is just done. Completely fucking done. And now I've got 3 different family members calling me, all with their own theories about what I should do. My female cousins are back to calling me heartless. My parents are flip-flopping between being furious about the illegitimate pregnancy and demanding I fix everything. Even my disappearing act cousin from Canada suddenly has opinions again now that the drama has escalated. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do here. There's potentially an innocent kid involved now, but my sister has made it clear she's incapable of making a single responsible decision. And I'm supposed to what? Sacrifice my career and mental health to clean up this disaster she created? I'm starting to think the only sane choice is to just walk away from all of them and let them figure it out. But then I think about that kid, and I hate that she's putting me in this position where I have to choose between my own sanity and a baby who didn't ask for any of this chaos. Update 4. I wish I could say things got better after my last update, but this whole nightmare just keeps getting worse in ways I never could have imagined. So remember how my sister was holed up in that motel, supposedly broke and desperate? Well, turns out she wasn't being entirely honest about her financial situation. Shocking, I know. Yesterday afternoon, I got a call from Mark that made my blood run cold. He was at lunch near his office when he spotted my sister at some upscale cafe, not looking like someone who's been eating ramen noodles and counting pennies. She was dressed nice, hair done, and sitting across from some older guy in an expensive suit. Mark didn't want to get involved, but something felt off, so he stuck around and watched from a distance. The guy handed her what looked like cash, a thick envelope, and then they left together in his Mercedes. Mark followed them to a hotel. Yeah, you can probably guess where this is going. When Mark called to tell me, I felt like I was going to throw up. My pregnant sister, who's been playing the victim card about being homeless and desperate, is apparently turning tricks to pay for her motel room. Or worse, maybe she's been doing this the whole time and that's how she really got pregnant. I sat on this information for about 6 hours before I couldn't take it anymore. I drove to her motel and confronted her. She tried to lie at first, said the guy was just a friend helping her out, but when I pressed her, she completely broke down. Turns out this has been going on for almost 2 months, even while she was with Jared. She said she started because she needed money for nice things and kept doing it because it made her feel powerful and desired. Here's the part that made me want to punch a wall. She admitted there's a good chance the baby's father is actually one of her clients, some married businessman who's been seeing her regularly and apparently doesn't use protection because he's clean and gets tested. The delusion is unreal. But wait, it gets worse. While we're having this conversation, guess who shows up at the motel? Jared. Apparently he's been having her followed because he suspected something was up. The guy went ballistic when my sister started crying and admitted everything. He grabbed her by the arm and started screaming about how she's a whore and how he's going to make her pay for embarrassing him. I stepped in, I couldn't just watch, pregnant or not. Ended up in a shoving match with this piece of shit in the motel parking lot. My TMJ is killing me today because he got one good hit in before I managed to push him off her. Hotel security finally showed up and broke it up, but not before Jared screamed at my sister that he was going to tell everyone what kind of person she really is. Now my sister is begging me to let her stay with me because she's scared for her life and the baby. She swears she'll get an STD test, swears she'll stop the escort thing, swears she'll figure out who the father really is. All the usual promises that mean absolutely nothing coming from her. My parents have been calling nonstop since Jared apparently decided to make good on his threat and told them everything. My dad is beside himself, not about my sister's safety or the baby's well-being, but about the shame she's brought on the family. My mom managed to get on a video call despite her stroke, just to tell me that if I don't fix this situation, they're going to disown both of us. The fucked up part? I'm actually considering it. Not because I think she deserves my help after everything she's done, but because there's a baby involved now who might be completely innocent in all this. Mark thinks I'm crazy for even considering it. He said, and I quote, "She's going to destroy you the same way she destroyed me, except this time she'll take a kid down with her." I've got my promotion meeting tomorrow morning. I should be focused on that, on my career, on my future. Instead, I'm sitting here at 3 a.m. trying to figure out if I can live with myself knowing there's a baby out there who might end up in foster care because both potential fathers are either abusive or married, strangers, and the mother is, well, my sister. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. Everyone keeps telling me what I should do: help her, abandon her, call the authorities, stay out of it. But nobody understands that every choice feels like the wrong one. If I help her, I'm enabling her destructive behavior and probably sacrificing my own future. If I don't, a kid might suffer for the sins of adults who should have known better. God, I hate that she's put me in this position. Again, update 5. Well, I got the promotion. Should be celebrating, but instead I'm sitting in my car outside a police station at 11 p.m. writing this update because my life has officially become a fucking soap opera that I can't escape from. So after my last post, I made a decision. I told my sister she could crash at my place for exactly 1 week while she figured her shit out, but with conditions: STD test, paternity test as soon as possible, and absolutely no contact with Jared or her clients. I thought I was being generous but firm. Turns out I was being a naive idiot. The first 3 days were actually okay. She seemed genuinely grateful, was looking for a job, even helped around the apartment. I started thinking maybe, just maybe, becoming a mother would finally be the wake-up call she needed. Then Mark texted me a photo that shattered that delusion completely. He was grabbing coffee before work when he saw my sister getting into a car with the same older businessman from before. Same Mercedes, same expensive suit. This was yesterday morning while I was in my promotion meeting, probably right around the time my boss was shaking my hand and congratulating me on my new position. I confronted her when I got home, and she didn't even try to deny it. Just started crying and said she needed money for baby stuff and that this guy was different from her other clients. Apparently he's been talking about leaving his wife for her. The delusion runs so fucking deep I don't even know where to start. But here's where it gets really twisted. This morning, I woke up to my sister throwing up violently in my bathroom. Not morning sickness, she was genuinely sick. Turns out she'd been getting mysterious stomach pains and weird symptoms, so I dragged her ass to urgent care thinking maybe it was something pregnancy related. The doctor ran some tests and came back looking serious. My sister has chlamydia and gonorrhea while pregnant. The doctor started talking about how untreated STDs can cause premature birth, low birth weight, even blindness in newborns, and I watched my sister's face just crumble. Then she drops another bombshell: the married businessman? His name is David Chen, he's 52, has 3 kids, and she's been seeing him twice a week for 2 months. But wait, it gets better. She also admits she's been seeing his business partner, some guy named Marcus, because David introduced them and Marcus pays more. I'm standing there listening to this shit, and I realize my sister isn't just self-destructive anymore. She's become genuinely dangerous to herself and this baby. The doctor wants to start her on antibiotics immediately, but she has to contact all her recent sexual partners for testing. That's when my phone started blowing up. Apparently word got back to David's wife somehow, maybe through medical records, maybe he confessed, I don't know, but this woman called my sister's phone screaming about how she's a home-wrecking whore who gave her husband an STD. Then she said something that made my blood freeze: I know where you live now, and I know where your brother works. My sister had apparently given David my address. This crazy woman has been calling my apartment building, my work, even tried to find me on social media. My boss, Mark's cousin, pulled me aside today to tell me that some unhinged woman called the office claiming I was harboring a prostitute and demanding to speak to HR. So now I've got a pregnant sister with multiple STDs, her married boyfriend's psycho wife stalking me, Jared still somewhere in the picture making threats, and my family back home losing their minds over the family shame. Oh, and my promotion comes with a potential transfer opportunity that could set my career up for life, but I'd need to relocate in 3 months. The breaking point came tonight. I got home from work to find my apartment door standing wide open. My sister was gone, along with some of my electronics and the emergency cash I keep in my kitchen drawer. She left a note: I'm sorry. I'll pay you back. Had to disappear for a while. Don't look for me. I called the police to report the theft, but they said since she'd been staying there and I couldn't prove she didn't have permission to take those items, it was a civil matter. That's when I found out she'd also maxed out the credit card I stupidly added her to as an authorized user for emergencies. Mark came over after I called him in a panic. He helped me change my locks and stayed while I tried to process what the hell just happened. That's when David's wife showed up. This woman is completely unhinged. She started pounding on my door screaming about how she was going to destroy the whore and her family and how her husband threw away 20 years of marriage for that diseased slut. I called the cops, but she left before they arrived. Here's the kicker though: while we were dealing with all this, my sister called Mark's phone instead of mine. She was crying, saying she was in trouble and needed help, but she was afraid to call me directly. She told him she's staying with Marcus now, the business partner, but David found out and has been threatening both of them. Apparently David's wife hired a private investigator, and now there's all kinds of shit coming to light about this whole network of married businessmen and young women. My sister begged Mark to ask me if she could come back, swearing she'd go into rehab, get counseling, do whatever it takes. But she also admitted something else. Marcus is married too, with kids, and his wife just found out. She's apparently gotten multiple women pregnant over the years and pays them to keep quiet. So now I'm sitting here trying to decide if I should take that transfer opportunity and just disappear from this whole mess, or if I'm obligated to stay and help clean up the disaster zone my sister has created. The baby is still out there somewhere, growing inside someone who's making catastrophically bad decisions that could affect an innocent kid for the rest of its life. The worst part? I'm starting to think my sister didn't just fall into this escort situation. I think she's been living this double life for way longer than she's admitted, and everything, Jared, Mark, the pregnancy, has all been part of some bigger pattern of manipulation and chaos that I was too naive to see. Mark thinks I should take the transfer and let the authorities handle whatever comes next. My rational brain knows he's right. But there's still this voice in my head asking what happens to that baby if everyone just walks away. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I do know one thing: I can't keep living like this. Something has to change.